Many people feel pain, malaise, or health problems and have no idea that there may be more than one cause. Understanding the difference is essential to seek the correct solution. Today, we will talk about the spiritual view of diseases and how this can change the way you care for your own health. In the spiritual view, health is not only the absence of physical symptoms. It is the balance between body, mind, and soul. Therefore, there are diseases with origins in the body, others in the energy of the spirit, and still those that arise from the influence of other spirits. Knowing how to recognize these signs is the first step to comprehensive care. There are physical diseases caused by factors such as poor nutrition, excessive exertion, or accidents. There are also spiritual diseases, which arise from accumulated negative thoughts and feelings. And there are symbiotic diseases, linked to the influence of spirits in imbalance. Each type requires a specific form of treatment for there to be true healing. What many people do not perceive is that treating only the body does not resolve the root of the problem if it is spiritual. This explains why some diseases return or other diseases appear shortly after. The true transformation happens when we also take care of our energies and what we carry in our hearts and minds daily. Chosen ones, if you want to understand better how to identify each type of disease and learn to protect yourself, follow the channel now and turn on notifications. Thus you won't miss any content, and you'll also help this message reach more people who need this knowledge. Let's discover together how to care for the body and the soul in a balanced way. The spiritual view of health and disease health, from a broader perspective, goes far beyond the absence of pain or the proper functioning of organs. In spiritual understanding, being healthy means achieving harmony between body, mind, and spirit. It is when vital energy flows freely, without blockages caused by negative thoughts, destructive feelings, or external influences that compromise our natural balance. Often, when symptoms arise, we look only at physical causes, such as poor nutrition, sedentary lifestyle, or accidents. Although these factors are important, we cannot ignore that the spiritual dimension also directly interferes with our vitality. In many traditions, it is believed that every physical discomfort is a reflection of something that began in the energetic or emotional field before manifesting in the body. This view considers that diseases are not necessarily enemies, but signals that invite us to reflect on our way of living. A cold may alert to the need for rest. Constant pains may indicate the accumulation of emotional tensions, and more serious illnesses may function as calls for deep changes in behavior and in the way of thinking. The body is like a messenger of the soul. It expresses through symptoms what we often cannot perceive consciously. When there is spiritual imbalance, this disharmony can set in subtly and, if ignored, transform into persistent diseases. Therefore, understanding this connection is essential to promote a truly integral health. In practice, this means taking care of all dimensions of life. Just as we seek doctors and treatments for the body, we also need to seek tools to maintain spiritual balance. This may include prayer, meditation, daily reflection, or any practice that elevates our thoughts and feelings, strengthening our vital energy against negative influences. An important point is that the spiritual view does not discard conventional medicine. On the contrary, it reinforces the need to combine both forms of care. Consultations, tests, and treatments are essential allies, but their effect is enhanced when we also cleanse our energy field and cultivate more constructive and optimistic thoughts. This approach also broadens our understanding of why some people fall ill more often than others. Beyond genetic or environmental factors, the way we handle emotions, beliefs, and relationships directly influences our health. People who hold grudges, cultivate anger, or live under constant stress tend to open gaps for illnesses to take hold. On the other hand, individuals who maintain positive attitudes, care for their relationships, and seek to resolve internal conflicts tend to show greater physical and emotional resilience. This does not mean they never get sick, but that they recover faster and face challenges with more serenity. This resilience is the result of balanced inner energy, which acts as natural protection. Therefore, understanding the spiritual view of diseases is not an invitation to fear, but to responsibility. It means recognizing that our health depends as much on our physical habits as on the quality of the energies we cultivate. And above all, understanding that every symptom is an opportunity to look deeper and identify what needs to be transformed within us. Physical diseases, causes, examples, and ways of prevention. Physical diseases are those that originate directly from biological, environmental, or behavioral factors. They affect the body in a concrete way, being detectable by tests and assessed by health professionals. They typically arise when some organ, tissue, or body system is not functioning properly, whether due to wear, injury, infection, or physical overwork. Among the most common causes are poor diet, sedentary lifestyle, exposure to unhealthy environments, excessive physical exertion, and accidents. A nutrient-poor diet, for example, weakens the immune system, making the body more vulnerable to infections. Lack of physical activity can lead to weight gain, cardiovascular problems, and muscle weakening. Excessive physical exertion can also generate problems, especially when performed improperly or without preparation. Lifting weights incorrectly, working for hours in poor postures, or practicing sports without warm-up can result in injuries to joints, muscles, and the spine. These situations, although common, can be prevented with simple care and attention to the body. Another relevant factor is prolonged exposure to harmful environments. Places with pollution, dust, chemicals, or excessive noise can trigger respiratory problems, allergies, hearing loss, and other health damages. In many cases, work-related physical diseases appear only after years of exposure, requiring preventive attention from an early age. The use of harmful substances, such as alcohol, tobacco, and drugs, is also among the main causes of physical diseases. These substances can compromise vital organs like the liver, lungs, and heart, in addition to affecting the nervous system and reasoning ability. In the long term, effects tend to be cumulative and more severe. Physical diseases include everything from acute illnesses, like the flu or a fracture, to chronic conditions, such as diabetes, hypertension, and arthritis. While some have quick and complete cures, others need to be controlled throughout life, requiring habit changes and continuous monitoring to avoid complications. Prevention is the key to reducing the risk of physical diseases. Maintaining a balanced diet, rich in fruits, vegetables, lean proteins, and whole grains, strengthens the body and provides energy for daily activities. Regular exercise helps keep a healthy weight, improves circulation, and strengthens muscles and bones. Moreover, it is essential to respect the body's limits. Taking breaks during work, adopting proper postures, and using protective equipment when necessary are simple measures that prevent injuries. Adequate sleep is also essential, as recovery and immune system strengthening occur during rest. Regular medical consultations and preventive examinations allow problems to be identified early, when the chances of successful treatment are higher. Many serious diseases, such as certain types of cancer, can be controlled or even cured if diagnosed early. Ignoring symptoms or delaying consultations is an unnecessary risk. Although the cause of physical diseases is linked to the body, this does not mean that the emotional and spiritual aspects do not influence. Stress, for example, can worsen cardiac, digestive, and immune problems. Therefore, taking care of physical health also involves maintaining emotional and mental balance, creating a favorable environment for recovery and prevention. Finally, Understanding physical diseases as part of a larger whole helps create a more integrated view of health. They require attention, prevention, and proper treatment, but can also serve as signals that it is time to rethink habits and attitudes. The body always speaks, and learning to listen to its signals is the first step to living with more vitality and well-being. Spiritual diseases, when energy turns into a symptom. Spiritual diseases are conditions that do not originate directly in the physical body, but emerge from imbalances in the vitality energy and the person's spiritual field. They occur when negative thoughts, feelings, and attitudes accumulate over time, weakening energetic defenses and allowing this inner state to manifest as symptoms in the body. Unlike physical diseases, which have clear material causes, spiritual diseases begin at a subtle level. Emotions such as anger, deep sadness, envy, or prolonged fear create an internal environment conducive to illness. The energy generated by these emotional states can permeate the spiritual field, which in turn directly influences the functioning of the physical body. A common example is the impact of grievance held for years. This unworked emotion can generate constant tension, affecting organs and systems. The liver, stomach, and heart are frequently affected by accumulated negative feelings. When we do not care for these emotional wounds, they transform into energetic blockages that over time pave the way for diseases. Another important factor is the influence of energies we absorb from the environment. Places filled with conflict, gossip, and pessimism can weaken our spiritual field. Likewise, living with people who are constantly negative can drain our vitality. This contamination of energy weakens health and favors the emergence of physical symptoms without an apparent medical cause. Spiritual diseases can also be related to traumatic experiences that have not been overcome. Losses, rejections, and failures can generate limiting beliefs, such as, "I am not good enough," or "I do not deserve to be happy." These beliefs shape how we think and act, creating repetitive patterns that harm emotional and physical health. Identifying a spiritual disease requires attention to the signs. Often the person has already seen doctors, undergone tests, and found no clear diagnosis. Even so, malaise persists. It is common to feel constant fatigue, pains in different parts of the body, changes in sleep and appetite, without convincing physical explanation. To prevent and treat spiritual diseases, it is essential to take care of emotional and mental state daily. This includes cultivating positive thoughts, practicing gratitude, maintaining healthy relationships, and seeking activities that elevate energy, such as prayer, meditation, or time in nature. These practices strengthen the spiritual field, making it less vulnerable to negative influences. Spiritual diseases remind us that body and spirit are deeply connected. When energy is in harmony, physical health also strengthens. But when we neglect this subtle part, the body may react with symptoms that are, in fact, pleas for help from the soul. Listening to these signs is the first step to regaining balance. Therefore, treating spiritual diseases is not just about eliminating symptoms, but about promoting an internal change. It means learning to keep the mind clear, the heart light, and energy protected. Just as we care for the body with good food and exercise, we should nourish the spirit with constructive thoughts and attitudes that bring us closer to the good. Symbiotic diseases. When resonance attracts external influences, symbiotic diseases occur when an unbalanced spirit approaches a person and, by vibrational resonance, establishes an energetic connection with them. In this connection, the individual may begin to feel in the physical body symptoms similar to those carried by the spirit. It is not a matter of imagination, but a real reflection of this spiritual interaction. This resonance occurs because In the spiritual universe, similar energies attract. If a person maintains dense thoughts and emotions, such as anger, grudges, pessimism, or constant discouragement, they create a vibrational field compatible with spirits who are on the same frequency. This open door allows the influence to occur, often without the person noticing. With the connection established, the person may feel pain, malaise, fatigue, or mood changes without an apparent physical cause. In some cases, these symptoms appear and disappear abruptly, accompanying the energy fluctuations of the spirit that is linked to them. It is as if the body becomes a mirror of the condition of the one who approaches. A common example is when a healthy person suddenly starts to feel pains in the legs, head, or chest, and all medical tests indicate that everything is fine. If the origin is symbiotic, these symptoms tend to persist while the negative resonance exists. As the vibration improves, the symptoms diminish or disappear completely. To avoid this type of disease, it is essential to maintain high personal energy. This can be achieved through prayer, gratitude, good thoughts, positive attitudes, and association with people who convey peace. The higher the vibration, the more difficult it will be for an unbalanced spirit to establish this connection. When a symbiotic influence already exists, it is necessary to interrupt the resonance cycle. This requires inner change, forgive, release resentments, cultivate joy and life purpose. Spiritual practices of energetic cleansing, such as meditation, spiritual passes, or herbal baths, can also help break the connection and restore balance. The role of thoughts and emotions in health. The way we think and feel directly influences our health. It is not just a matter of superficial, positive thinking, but of understanding that each emotion triggers a reaction in the body. When we cultivate balanced feelings, the organism functions better. When we accumulate negative emotions, we open space for physical, mental, and even spiritual wear. The brain and the body are in constant communication. Emotions such as joy, gratitude, and hope stimulate the release of substances that strengthen the immune system and improve the functioning of vital organs. On the other hand, prolonged anger, sadness, and fear release stress hormones such as cortisol, which, in excess, harm health and weaken our natural defenses. When we spend a lot of time feeding destructive thoughts, the body interprets that we are in constant danger. This prolonged sense of alarm overworks the heart, the digestive system, and breathing. It's like living and running a marathon without ever stopping to rest. Sooner or later, wear shows up in the form of diseases or persistent symptoms. Chosen ones, emotional health is also tied to the ability to cope with challenges and frustrations. People who develop resilience, the ability to recover after difficult moments, tend to have fewer physical problems related to stress. This happens because they know how to reorganize thoughts, calm emotions, and regain balance more quickly. Another important point is that thoughts and emotions shape our habits. Someone who is demotivated tends to neglect nutrition, avoid physical activity, and isolate socially. These behaviors increase vulnerability to disease. On the other hand, balanced emotions motivate us to take better care of ourselves, create healthy connections, and seek solutions instead of focusing only on problems. Maintaining a healthy mind does not mean ignoring difficult emotions, but learning to deal with them constructively. Feeling sadness, fear, or anger is natural, but it is necessary to prevent these emotions from becoming permanent. A good way to do this is through practices such as meditation, prayer, conscious breathing, or therapeutic writing. The environment we live in also directly influences our emotional state. Places with a lot of tension, excessive noise, or constant conflicts can undermine our energy and make us more prone to negative thoughts. Seeking more harmonious environments and people who transmit good energies helps keep the mind balanced and consequently, the body healthier. Another important strategy is cultivating gratitude. Recognizing good things, even on difficult days, trains the mind to see possibilities rather than limitations. This shift in focus not only improves mood, but also reduces the harmful effects of stress on the body, preventing illnesses related to chronic tension. Many people, when they feel pain or discomfort, immediately seek a physical solution: medicines, surgeries, manual therapies, or exercises. Although these measures are important and often necessary, focusing only on the body may not solve the problem in a durable way. This happens because, in many cases, the root of illness lies in deeper layers, linked to the mind and the spirit. Chosen ones, when we treat only the physical symptoms, it is like cleaning the water from a puddle without fixing the leak that feeds it. The relief may come for a while, but if the original cause remains, the problem tends to return. That is why so many people say that after recovering from one disease, another soon arises, or that the same pain returns months later. The physical body is a reflection of our internal state. Unresolved emotions, limiting beliefs, and negative thought patterns directly affect health. When we do not deal with these issues, they continue to act silently, exhausting the organism until it manifests visible signs. And at that moment, physical treatment alone is not able to prevent new manifestations. Modern medicine already recognizes the influence of emotional and mental factors on health. Stress, for example, is associated with the worsening of heart diseases, digestive problems, insomnia, and low immunity. Thus, treating the body without taking care of the emotional source of stress is leaving a door open for it to continue causing damage to the organism. Beyond the emotional aspect, there is also the spiritual field. Beliefs and practices of various traditions show that vital energy can be strengthened or weakened by our attitudes, thoughts, and the environment in which we live. If the energy is unbalanced, even a seemingly healthy body may begin to present symptoms with no identifiable medical cause. Therefore, a truly complete treatment needs to consider all levels: physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. This means that, alongside conventional medical treatment, it is advisable to adopt practices that strengthen the mind and spirit, such as therapy, meditation, prayer, breathing exercises, and energetic care, according to each person's belief. Taking care of the body alone is like replacing parts of a car without checking the engine. It may solve things in the short term, but it does not guarantee good functioning in the long term. When we look at all dimensions of health, we can identify harmful patterns and transform them, preventing repetition of the problem and promoting lasting well-being. Another relevant point is that when we care for the mind and the spirit, physical recovery tends to be faster. People who maintain a positive attitude, cultivate faith, and trust the healing process often show a better response to medical treatments. This happens because body and spirit work together to restore balance. Finally, understanding that treating only the body is not enough is an invitation to assume responsibility for all areas of life. It is not about replacing doctors with spiritual practices, but about uniting forces. True health is the result of the sum of care: physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual, all working together to maintain balance. Chosen ones, we have reached the end of this journey about the broader view of health, which goes beyond the physical body. Throughout the previous parts, we have seen that real balance only happens when we also take care of the mind, emotions, and spirit. Treating only the symptoms is like trying to silence an alarm without solving the cause that triggered it. Each type of disease, physical, spiritual, or symbiotic, shows us that we are complex and interconnected beings. What we feel, think, and experience directly reflects the functioning of the organism. Prolonged negative emotions, toxic environments, and harmful behavioral patterns create conditions for illness, while positive attitudes and self-care practices strengthen our resilience. The body is a faithful messenger of the soul. When we ignore its signals, we lose the chance to correct small imbalances before they become bigger problems. Persistent pain, lingering fatigue, or a recurring symptom can be invitations to look deeper, investigate the root cause, and promote real changes in how we live. Caring for integral health requires daily commitment. Eating well, maintaining physical activity, resting adequately, and undergoing regular medical examinations are as important as nourishing the mind with positive thoughts and protecting the spirit from negative influences. The union of these care aspects creates a solid foundation for a long and balanced life. It is also essential to understand that there is no single formula. Each person has different needs and stories, so the care process must be individualized. The important thing is to be open to merging medical knowledge, spiritual practices, and emotional development, creating a life plan that keeps all areas in harmony. Remember, health is not merely the absence of disease, but the presence of balance. It is living with energy, mental clarity, and inner peace. It is knowing how to cope with challenges without being overwhelmed by fear or negativity. It is cultivating a state of well-being that remains even in the natural difficulties of life. Now, I invite you to reflect on what you have read so far and to take action. Start today by observing your thoughts, caring for your emotions, and protecting your energy. At the same time, keep your body active and well-nourished. This is the key for the body and soul to work together in your favor. And to finish, I want to hear from you. Which of these pains or signals do you feel most often? Write in the comments and share your experience. Your story can inspire others to seek a path of healing and balance. Let's build together a space of support and empowerment to live with greater integral health.